The 2014 RS7. Today we have the 2014 Audi RS7, a car that has been reviewed and written about by many car journalists. I want to give you my thoughts because unlike those other reviewers who have had the car for a day or a week, this car has been around me for 3 years and I've noticed things that they have missed and things that I think people would like to know. I'm going to tell you why I think the Audi RS7 is so special and possibly one of the best daily drivers out there. But not only that, but I'm going to tell you some of its biggest flaws. So first, we're going to go over the positives with the Audi RS7. And the biggest thing to me is that it's an amazing daily driver because it really can do it all. This car comes with 560 horsepower from the factory unless you get the performance package and it ups it to 605. But the big thing that a lot of YouTubers don't talk about, and I know a lot of people are interested about it, is that if you take $3,000 afterwards and put a tune only, which means that's safe for your car. You're not putting other bolt-on things, you're not putting exhaust and intakes and stuff like that. This is a tune only. $3,000 later, you can bring this car up to 750 horsepower and 760 foot-pounds of torque, depending on the tuner you go with. And at 750 horsepower and 760 foot-pounds of torque, people are seeing numbers that are faster than the supercars you see every day. I'm talking Lamborghini Huracan, Ferrari 458, McLaren. I mean, that's just to name a couple. And that's just with a factory car that you put a tune on. That's just unbelievable numbers. And not to mention, it's getting those numbers while having 4 seats and a ton of storage in the back. That's one reason why I really do think this car is amazing. Another big positive with this car, I think, is the sound. It's not too often you get stock cars that sound aggressive, really. Even some other cars like the SL55 that I reviewed earlier, it sounds good, but it's not really that loud for having 500 some horsepower. This one you can actually hear quite well, which I enjoy. Another big positive is the storage space. There is an incredible amount of storage space in this car. With it being a hatchback, the trunk is huge. And if it wasn't big enough as it is, you can fold down the back seats and it basically becomes a pickup truck. I mean, you could fit anything back there. Now, as far as space itself goes for actual occupants, the driver's seat and passenger seat are just fine as far as headroom and everything goes. The back seat, decent leg room, but the headroom is very bad for taller people. I'm only 5'10". I fit that back there perfectly. But I have friends who are 6 foot, 6'5", and they complain about it every time they're back there. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're taller, might not be the best car if you want to ride in the back. Another big positive with this car is the adjustable ride. Now, I know a lot of cars have adjustable ride, but this is one of the few cars that I've been in where you can actually tell the difference when you put the car from sport, or they call it dynamic, back into comfort. The ride quality significantly changes, and that's really nice because with a car that has 4 doors, you do want it to be comfortable sometimes, but when it's got 560 horsepower, you also want to be able to stiffen up the suspension whenever you feel like driving a little bit more dynamically. Another key point I want to bring up with the Audi RS7, and one of its big bonuses to me, because you know how I like to flip cars and everything, is the amount at which it holds its value. This car had a $120,000 sticker price in 2014. A car with this amount of miles, 33,000, currently sells for about $85,000. Now, I know you're thinking, well, that's a $35,000 decrease, but you have to take into consideration its competitors. So for comparison, a 2014 BMW M6 with around $130,000 sticker price is now worth only $60,000. That's less than half of the value that it had before. A 2014 CLS 63, which was originally $120,000, now are going for about $65,000. These are the competitors to this car, and their value doesn't stay with them even close to as well. There's a $20,000 difference in resale value on these. That's something that I would seriously take into consideration when comparing this car to its competitors. Now, as far as negatives go with the Audi RS7, they are very few and far between and kind of nitpicky, but you kind of have to be nitpicky when it comes to a car like this. And the first major drawback with this car is that whenever you have the radio playing and you hit the rear window defrosters, it completely cuts out the radio. Are expecting me tonight in your town. I've never seen that in a car before, and I thought it was something else when actually I realized, especially on a car that's $120,000, to not be able to run the rear defrosters and have the radio on can be a big deal. I mean, I'm younger, I don't listen to the radio a whole lot, but to older people who are probably really the demographic who can afford something like this, that's a big deal. The next thing that I don't know if I'd consider it a drawback, but it's kind of an annoyance at times, and again, this is just like the back seats having no headroom. This car wasn't meant for the people in the back seat, but the rear windows don't go down very far at all, and I also thought that was very strange. I know it has to do with the shape of the door, but I feel like they possibly could have done a better job with that, because they don't go down really far at all. It's almost not even worth going down. It's like 2/3 of the way they go down. To a lot of people who buy this car, this might not be a big deal, but I know to some, with it being an all-wheel drive car, want to be able to drive this car in the winter. And the problem with the 21-inch wheels that are on it right now, and come with a lot of them from the factory, is you cannot get winter wheels. Your only option is summer wheels, and that's a problem. The only way to get winter wheels is to buy aftermarket wheels, and they have to be 20-inch. And the problem is, 20-inch wheels aren't the cheapest thing in the world, and you have to get 20 because any smaller and it won't fit around the brakes. So that's something to really keep in mind if you're looking at this car and plan on driving it in the winter. You'll have to get a whole nother set of wheels and tires. Most cars, you just get new tires. My last complaint or drawback to this car, I think, would have to be the transmission. For being an automatic transmission, it's not bad as far as shift speed goes. I mean, it could be worse. But whenever you have cars like the S7 and S6 that have the dual clutch transmissions, it makes you wonder why couldn't they make it work in this car. I mean, I know some of the competition, like the Porsche Panamera, has the PDK, dual clutch transmission, and it's just a lot nicer to have a dual clutch transmission in a car that has so much horsepower, in a car that you know you're going to be driving around in a dynamic way. That's something that would be nice to see in a car like this. Although the one they have in it isn't bad, you can live with it. It would be nice to see that. So on that note, that's all I have for the Audi RS7. I hope you enjoyed it. And like I've said before, I'm trying to get information out there that's not so mainstream, things that haven't been mentioned by most car YouTubers, and things that you realize when you drive the car for a significant amount of time. And I really do think they're things that should be considered when you're buying a car. As always, guys, like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, comment them below, and I'll see you on the next one.